continuing our player position preview for the Nevada football team for the upcoming season. Chris, we're talking edge and linebacker. This is some exciting players on this list. Just give us a preview of the edge position. We'll start with that.
Well, yeah, I think there's a lot of hope for the two likely starting edge players. You have Henry Kifo, who started at Nevada as a tight end, then went to junior college, then went to Cal, and then back to Nevada. He was supposed to be an impact player last year, had the red shirt as a 2-time transfer. So, it'll be very interesting to see, in his second stint at Nevada, if he can make a little bit more of an impact. He was a solid rotational tight end in his first couple of years, but, a guy who's really transformed his body to be a little bit lighter because he was going to play more defensive end last year and now edge this year. And I know he's really excited about that. And then Caden Johnson, he's a former 4-star recruit out of the Minnesota area who played at Wisconsin the last 4 years, more of like a special teamer, couple of rotations on defensive end. But, as much hope as you have for those two guys, you do have to underline that they've both are fifth-year seniors and they have a combined 2 FBS sacks. So, you can't just pencil them in like 15 to 20 sacks.
Yeah.
But that is the hope that those guys could be impact pass rushers because Nevada did not get a lot of pass rush from its edge last year. Marcel Burgess Walker is transferred. He went to Ohio. He led Nevada with 4 sacks last season. So you look at the edge position, returning players, only 2 sacks among all those guys who did come back. There's pretty good young depth behind those
Jonathan
guys.
Maldonado still.
Yeah, you got
team.
Jonathan Maldonado. He made some good plays last year. You got Chris Smalley. You got D'Angelo Davis, Ike Nakani. Who had those 2 sacks, a kid out of Las Vegas. So I actually think this is a pretty solid group. And you have those 2 kind of, fifth-year seniors, experienced guys, last year college guys. So, if they want a pro opportunity, they got to have a really strong season. So, if you're lining up all the position groups, I think edge, there's reason to be optimistic for sure. But, these guys who Nevada's counting on to be impact players, they just haven't proven that yet. And this will be their opportunity to prove that.
Yeah. Chris, we're both Douglas guys. So naturally cheering on Smalley. Obviously, his father played a big impact both at Douglas and at UCLA and into the NFL for a little bit. So naturally cheering on for Smalley entering his 3rd year with Nevada. So we'll see how he does. But like you said, it kind of starts and ends with those top 2 guys. Which I personally I have hope for Caden Johnson. I think it kind of brings that Wisconsin pedigree to Nevada just because they've had success with their pass rushers in the past. Go down the list. You have Zach Bond, you have TJ and JJ Watt, and really just a list of really good pass rushers to come out of that program. So hopefully just him kind of being around it can lead to some more sacks. Probably easier level of competition compared to the Big Ten. So yeah, I have hope for the edge rush. But you really need them to be productive this season because, we talked about the interior in our previous episode and maybe a little light there. So any hope of a pass rush might have to be generated from the outside.
Yeah, I mean, Henry Kifo says he wants to lead the Mountain West in sacks this year. So, he had all of last year to redshirt to get ready. He said it was kind of like a blessing in disguise because they would have played him more as like a defensive end where he's defending against the run a little bit more. And in this offense, he sounds like at least he thinks he's going to get more opportunity to pass rush. But obviously, to be able to do that, you got to stop the run. And we talked about the interior defensive line previously. If Nevada's not good at stopping the run, it's not going to get into those pass rushing situations. It's not going to get into 3rd and longs. Nevada was actually pretty solid at 3rd and long defense last year. It's kind of one of the only metrics where they were like an above average FBS team. So, they didn't get teams into that situation all that much though. So those edge rushers, they're also going to have to play a part in defending the run and being stout on the line of scrimmage and being physical up front to be able to earn the opportunity to then go pass rush. But, I think between Caden and Henry, those guys have to be impact players for Nevada's defense to be above average. The Wolfpack defense, it feels like it had been better than the offense the last 2 years, but they did put up 33 points allowed per game last year and the year before that 30. So it still was not a very strong group. And, you got to be strong up front if you're going to be a good defense. That's where football starts. And, there are certainly question marks on the interior of the defensive line. But, Caden Johnson and Henry Kifo, if you told me both those guys were like honorable mention All Mountain West or better next year, this upcoming 2024, I wouldn't be surprised because I think they both have the talent to do that.
Yeah. So, it's a promising group. And then we'll segue right into interior linebacker and a lot of talent there. Drew Watts, all conference guy, and Matia Lona, right? So those two guys fill those linebacker positions, and I think it's a veteran presence. It really could anchor this defense.
Yeah, a couple of third-year starters. So you got to love that when you're a middle linebacker, which is a huge position, is experience, and they're kind of the captain of the defense. That's very, very helpful. I think, to me, Drew Watts is the best player on this team. I think he, is very instinctual. He's very athletic. He can cover sideline to sideline. He makes havoc plays as well. It's not like he's just racking up, tackles because he's in the middle of the defense. Like, he'll get into the backfield tackles for loss. He has an interception in his career. He had 4 fumble recoveries last season. So very, very talented player. If Nevada was going to lose someone to the transfer portal in the offseason, feels like that would have been the guy. But, Nevada was the only school to offer him. He wants to be loyal to the Wolfpack. And, he's going to be working under another defensive-minded head coach. Jeff Choate came on the defensive side of the ball just like Ken Wilson. Naki Matialona, also a third-year starter. Fairly similar to Drew in terms of maybe a little bit undersized, but, really good rangy, good speed. That is definitely the position where Nevada has the most certainty, the most productivity is middle linebacker. Because even behind them, Jackson LeDuc, the Oregon transfer, he had about 35 tackles last year despite a number of injuries. Stone Combs is also a pretty good young middle linebacker as well. So there's a nice rotation of 4 or 5 guys in the middle of that linebacker group.
Yeah, and you talk Jackson LeDuc, just with the pedigree and going to Oregon after high school, Spanish Springs kid, just can't stay healthy. Just it's a shame dealing with those lower leg injuries. We saw him out the softball game against the Reno Police, and still had a sleeve on his knee. So hopefully for his case, he can stay healthy and contribute. At least on special teams. But just for how long this season is going to be, 13 games, and much of it against bowl caliber teams. So it's going to be a physical season. So definitely going to see some interchangeability at that position, just because, it's kind of rare just to have two guys start and then just finish the season, because you're going to go through injuries. So LeDuc will get his opportunity. So we'll see, if he's, it's an ultimate what if with him, just because he has the size, he has the stature, and the athleticism prior to those knee injuries to really be an impact linebacker.
Yeah, he's not the same athlete he was coming out of high school. That's just like the matter of the fact. But the program means a lot to him, and those are the kind of guys, if you're a Wolfpack fan, you're rooting for, because they haven't had a lot of success the last couple of years. So for them to stay here and try and get better for this program, for the fan base, for Jackson in particular, you just hope that he's healthy. And if he's healthy, then he should be a pretty solid player in the Mountain West level. But, some guys, their bodies are just ravaged by the sport. It's a very physical sport. It's a very aggressive sport. And not everybody makes it through, like they were when they entered it, even at the college level, let alone an NFL career. So, we talk a lot about starters when we, get ready, but you don't know what injuries are going to pop up, right? And I think that's the good thing about middle linebacker is there's enough guys here. Like, I would say there are 4 or 5 really good middle linebackers that they can suffer injuries, not that you want that, and not have a huge drop-off. So, that's a really good thing about middle linebacker for Nevada.
Yeah. Finish this sentence, Chris, before we wrap this up. Drew Watts is the best Nevada linebacker since?
You probably got to go back to Brandon Marshall and James Michael Johnson. So they both graduated after the 2011 season. They were part of that 2010 team. They've had some good ones since then. Gabe Sewell was a good linebacker. Albert Rossetti had a 100-tackle season. So there's definitely been some good ones in there. Lawson Hall was like a 3-4 year starter. And Drew's kind of like Lawson, a little bit undersized. So I think getting to the NFL level might be difficult unless he maybe moves to safety. But I would say that Drew, especially with a couple more years of eligibility left, should go down as, probably the best Wolfpack linebacker since JMJ and Brandon Marshall, who both had nice NFL careers.
Yeah, exciting unit, obviously exciting with Watts leading the way. But this is a good episode, just detailing some of the more promising players on defense. We'll be back tomorrow, obviously, to cover the cornerbacks and safeties. But any last thoughts on these two positions?
Yeah, I think you combine them together, and it's what's the strength of the defense. It's what gives you optimism for the defense. I wrote kind of a preview story on the offense and the defense, and I said on the defensive side, something to work with, and I think these two positions are a big reason why there is something to work with on defense. Yeah,
so we'll be back next time. I'm Jared Vasquez, joined by Chris Murray. Thanks as always for tuning in. Guys, like, rate, subscribe wherever you guys get this podcast, and we'll see you next time on Inside the Den.